Just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update. Haven't posted anything for a little bit because of some injuries, but I've been a little bit on Project Viper. So haven't updated on this for a while. So what I did is, this is kind of tedious stuff and didn't think you guys would want to see it, but I tore the whole interior out of this car, and I had found a new old stock seat that had never been bolted in a car here locally. So I picked up that for the driver's seat, and I have some more parts coming from Brian Jones. That guy is awesome, including a little bit better seat cushions for the passenger seat. This one's just dried out from being in, you can see it's just like a cracker. I've been soaking this and it's come back quite a bit with leather stuff, but the bottom cushion is literally like a cracker. It's stretched. You can see the sides are stretched from never being cared for in Arizona. And this car definitely had some history. It had, I think, 8 owners before me, so it was an unloved vehicle. And one of the things I'm doing, what I did is upgraded the stereo. So I did 2 6.5-inch Skar audio subwoofers in the center. The previous owner had done a stereo in this thing, and the wiring was absolutely horrific. So basically everything with the stereo that they had done was terrible. So I ripped all that out, did some focals, components in the doors, and then I'm trying out this power acoustik little touchscreen deck. I like when it's off, it's completely black, so it won't like stand out like a sore thumb. I did not like the deck that was in there. This one's pretty cool. I've already listened to it. It sounds okay. As you guys know, building a stereo in a convertible is pretty much pointless because they always sound terrible. I'm just looking for a little bit more volume, so when I'm on the highway I can hear it, and a little more clarity so it doesn't distort when I have it at higher volume. And then they had put some full range speakers, some cheapy full range in here, and it sounded just terrible. I had no balance of tones. So anyway, did a little bit better stereo. It's all powered by an amp in the back. They had left the factory amplifiers and just rewired everything separately, and it just was terrible. So I took the factory amps out, using one 4-channel amp now to power everything, and it's good enough for what I want for this car. But along the way, I pulled all the carpets out, pressure washed those. Here in Arizona, you could get away with that because I can pressure wash a carpet, and it is dry by the end of the day. So when it's 110 degrees, things dry quickly and you don't have mold or anything issues. I went through the door panels and secured all those, and I have a pretty cool project coming up with this one. This car is going to get converted to Gen 2 doors pretty quick. So those are also on the way from Brian Jones. That guy's been awesome helping me to piece everything together. And as you see, the entire dash is currently out of this car. So the whole dash cover shell comes out, and everything else in this interior is in pretty good shape. Like I said, this seat needs to be replaced, so I'm going to get a better one from Brian. That should be here hopefully today with the doors, and luckily he had a set of red Gen 2 doors. So I will be doing Gen 2 sport bar pad, which fits differently, and then I will have Gen 2 doors, and I'll have to build a wiring harness for all this, because Gen 2 doors have power windows, power door poppers. So there'll be a little door handle right here with a button that you push to pop the door, and it will have power windows. Now, I always liked Gen 1 because they had none of that. And this is kind of sacrilegious for me even to put this stuff into this car, because I do like the simplicity of a Gen 1 Viper. But what I found is I don't drive this thing enough, because every time I want to go somewhere in it, the wife doesn't want her hair blown around. And if you put the top on and the windows, they only unzip like from here to here. So you can't even open it to go through a drive-through. You can't see out of it. It's just a terrible design. It's literally an emergency setup top. That is the top right there. I also found, this is kind of cool, a new old stock hood insulation. On mine, some genius at some point in time took a pressure washer to it and did that. So they're super cool. They have the Viper logo, and they ruined this one with that. So I've got a new old stock one right there. When I pull the hood off for the next set of upgrades, I will put that on. And the cool thing about the Viper insulation, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this, the snake head is molded into it. And if you ever see a Viper in cold weather, if you come outside and this thing sat outside in the cold weather, because of the way the insulation is, you will have that snake head pattern on the outside of your car in frost or in like dew. It's pretty awesome. So anyway, going to convert from the Gen 1 seat belts that mount in the doors to Gen 2 seat belts that mount in the center and pull this way. Reason being is Gen 2 doors have window mechanisms and there's no room for seat belts in there. And it's just a safer setup. These seat belts, after I took that door apart and looked in there and how they're mounted, it's terrifying. They're literally placeholders is what I would call them. They don't do anything. So those are going away, make it a little safer. And for about 6-8 months, I think I ordered it in November, December, I have a autoform top coming. And what I'm going to do is, it's a Gen 2 top, they're double bubble top, and then I'm going to put Gen 2 doors on it. So I'll have power windows, doors, or power windows and locks, power mirrors. And the only reason that I want this is so I can actually drive this car more. Yes, it's sacrilegious, but if you can't lock it, it's very hard to take it anywhere. If I want to go out to eat in it or something, and the wife doesn't want her hair blown around, I can't, like, we bypass the car. So I'm going to do this just entirely use the car more. And so I'll take you guys over here and show you. I've been working on the dash. So the previous owner, some owner along the way had someone along the way, these dashes came originally with, they were gray, and then they were with what's called a soft touch clear. So in Dodge's, in the 90s, Dodge went through some changes, and it was around the time that they came out with the second generation pickups. And so about 94, all the prior plastics prior to 94 were made by a molding company that Chrysler owned, and they were very high quality. And that's why you find a first generation Dodge Cummins truck and the dash is still perfectly fine, but you find a generation 2 Dodge truck and the dash is garbage. What happened was Chrysler was having financial problems in those times, around the time that the Viper was made. And so they sold off their plastics company. I can't remember who bought it. And then they subbed out to another company. And that company that was making the dashes for, I bet they made this too. They were not putting enough UV protection in them, and they were brittle and falling apart. And everyone's seen the second generation Dodge dashes, how they completely just disintegrate. And it was terrible. But anyway, this dash is in really good shape, the plastic itself, but somewhere along the way, Dodge tried to make these feel a little bit more luxurious by putting a experimental soft touch clear coat. And you see this stuff today still, even in like 2008 Chevy trucks, Tahoes and stuff. You'll see it on like some of the bezels. It's like a kind of a rubbery texture on the plastic, and after time it all falls off and looks like crap. Anyway, that's what they put on these. And on the on these ones, the gray turned to brown over time. And even if you see a beautiful, pristine first-gen Viper that's got 200 miles on it or whatever, you'll notice the dash is kind of a brown tint, and they look terrible. So someone along the way had repainted this dash, but they did not strip it. They literally painted over that terrible soft touch clear coat, which is a big no-no. And I didn't realize they did that, but I did see there was like little, there was like a chip right here, and there's little chips and things around these areas, and it wasn't terrible, but it just drove me nuts. I wanted this thing perfect. And so what I did, I pulled it out, and I was planning to feather out. I thought these were chips from them loading stuff in the car or something, or being rough with it. And so I thought I could just feather them out and then reprime the dash and repaint it with a flexible adhesion promoter. But when I got into it, I realized that original coating was still under there. So I made the tough decision that I was going to strip all this stuff down to bare plastic. And it was a little different than most people's, because most people's that strip these just have to strip that coating off. They don't have coating with paint on top of it. And so at first I tried a paint stripper. It was your typical, you can get it at O'Reilly's or some of the parts stores. It was a plastic. It said it was safe for plastics, flexible and hard plastics. And it was an aircraft stripper. In fact, I've got it over here. I'll show you this stuff so you stay away from it. It works very well, but it eats the crap out of the plastic. So this is what I tried first. It is this stuff. Smells horrific. Works very well. I mean, very quickly. The paint was coming up like right now. But that stuff is no-go for stripping plastic. Do not use that, even though it says it's plastic safe. Luckily, I did not put it on the dash. I was trying it on this center bezel piece right here, because it was really thick paint on this. And it like blistered, not blistered, but it definitely made the surface really weird. So you can see I've sanded this out. I did not put it on here. This is how this should look, and this is how it came out. It was really rough, so I had to sand this out. I used 320 grit on a DA, and then sanded all the edges by hand with 320. And then now I'm doing just a little bit of reconditioning the surface to smooth it out. You can see it created like some lows and highs. So I've sanded that out, and now I've done a very thin coat of this product, which I really like this stuff. I've never used it before. It is like a spot putty glaze, which is kind of your like usually when you're using body filler, you go with a glaze to finish, because they're a little denser. They they go down smoother. They're not really porous, but they're not made for major filling. They're made for like really thin, like little stuff like this that you can't even feel. But this stuff works really well. And the cool thing, this is made to go on plastic. So it's made for like plastic bumper covers and things like that. And anytime I've gotten SEM products, they've been spot on. I love their black interior paints. I love their color coat line. That stuff's incredible. Use that stuff for years, and it's just super, super durable. I've changed entire interior colors on Jeeps. Actually, my dad's old Jeep that the Campbells built in Gilbert for my dad years ago, it had like this ugly, gross brown taupe color. I don't know even what to call it. I think it was nutmeg, and he wanted it black. And short of buying every new interior piece, we used the SEM products, and that shit lasted its entire life and never came off. It was incredible. So I use that a lot. So 2 thumbs up for that. But what I did end up finding was, I got on a tangent there. I wanted something to strip this and not ruin the plastic on this dash. And you can see how beautiful this is stripped off. It is completely clean of anything. And I did have to do a couple repairs where the radio, these screws go around the radio bezel. These were completely broke out from whoever installed the stereo. They just butchered anything they touched. I did some plastic welding. I cut these pieces out of ABS plastic because I found that supposedly that's what this is. And I plastic welded these on the back side and then did a little epoxy in the corners on the inside, and they're super strong. So got mounts again. I didn't want this to rattle and squeak, so I repaired those. All the other mounts are pretty good. On the back side of these, there was a little bit of cracking, and I'll show you what I do to fix those. There's a tool that you can get on Amazon, or Harbor Freight has it too, and you use these hot staples, and basically you melt across where there's a little spider crack, and it puts a wire inside the plastic, giving it strength again. It gussets the plastic, and then you cut the little pegs off. And if you want to see how to do this, shoot me a comment down below. I'd be happy to do a demonstration, but I figured most people have probably seen it, so I didn't. But this one, you can tell I've already repaired it, and I just have to do a little bit of spot putty on these. These are the door panel, door handle covers. And even though I'm not keeping these doors, I'm going to sell them, I wanted to make sure these were perfect again for whoever buys those doors. It's kind of strange. The glove box door, everything in here is the same kind of plastic. Glove box door is black plastic. Don't know why. But anyway, I'll show you what I did to strip this. And I tried a bunch of different stuff, and people on the forums were saying to use brake .3 brake fluid, and that's a no-no for me. I do not get any type of fluids around anything that I want to paint, especially if anyone knows what .3 does. That has no business anywhere near anything you're going to paint that's already painted or that ever might get painted. You just don't mess with that stuff. So anyway, this is what I found. Oven cleaner. So easy off. The first can I used was, I went through and rated the wife's cleaning stuff in the kitchen, and she had the blue one that doesn't have any smell to it, and that worked just as good. I ran out, so I went to get some more and got this stuff. You can get this at Walmart, grocery store, anywhere like that. And so what I did is hose it down with the oven cleaner, and then take just a black garbage bag and stick it to the surface, wrap the part. Otherwise, this stuff kind of evaporates quickly. It kind of goes on like a foamy gel, and it sticks on there. But what I did is I sprayed the whole surface with with the cleaner, and then I wrapped the whole thing in garbage bags, kind of like when you're removing window tint, same kind of method. Wrapped it in garbage bags, set it in the sun, and I left it probably about, I would come back and check it every about 5 to 10 minutes. But I think about 20 minutes is what I did. And then it took me several times. I did it kind of in stages because I didn't want to get too far in and then cause damage. But now that I know that this stuff doesn't really hurt anything on the plastic, I could be a little more aggressive. And so I sprayed it all down, wrapped it in that, and then let it sit. And then when it was done, I hit it with my pressure washer. And carefully, I kind of rigged this up so it couldn't flop around or break. And I blasted this thing with the pressure washer, and it took all of that nasty goo off that was below the paint. It stripped the paint. It stripped the black paint off of the bezels. Perfectly clean. I am thrilled with how this came out. I did have to do a couple little plastic, like I said, little repairs, and I use those same, get down here, use those same wire deals. You can see the little snake trail right there where it crisscrosses across the crack. And these are nice because it won't let it crack again. It takes away that crack flexibility, that weak spot. So I've done a little 320 right here to clean that up. So yeah, Viper Dash is completely stripped. That was a huge relief that I didn't ruin it in the process, because these parts are not getting any cheaper or easier to get. And so the next step, I'm still doing a little bit of final, I guess you could call it body work, little spot putty spots. The next thing I'm going to do is gray Scotch-Brite with, I did some more research, and they say do not use like solvents like acetone or anything like that, because you can possibly gummy up the surface, and I don't want to do that again. So I'm just going to go to my old Comet, and that's what I've used. I'm sorry, not Comet, Ajax. I've always used Ajax. But I'm going to do Ajax with warm water and the gray Scotch-Brite, and clean all these parts spotless again, blow dry them, let them sit out in the sun. And I'm trying to let these sit as long as I possible. I ordered some SEM direct to plastic primer surfacer, and that'll be here on Sunday. But I want to let this gas out anyway, and that's why I went ahead and ordered it, so I wouldn't rush things, because I have a bad tendency to like to get excited and finish projects. And one of the things with paint and body is you cannot rush anything. And one of the things I was worried about is once you use foreign chemicals like this on a porous surface, it is possible for that stuff to be gassing out, as well as stuff that's been trapped in the plastic under the old paint. So it's very good to let things sit and gas out as long as possible. So I'm going to let this gas out, do my my Ajax and water with the gray Scotch-Brite. Then I'm going to lay down a SEM flexible primer sealer, and then we're going to paint this stuff. It's going to go back the original color, and I already got, let's see here, I got my reducers, and then here is the actual, the color. I went by the color code for the interior. This is the color. It's a Chrysler color. They call it medium slate gray, and they put obviously they put a little test spot, and that matched. Before I stripped the dash, I matched this up, and it was perfect. And that's what we're going to shoot it. It's a Deltron paint that I'm using. I like PPG stuff. I'm just used to it. So anyway, that's going to be our base coat, and then I'm going to get a little experimental, and I will let you guys know how this comes out. I almost probably shouldn't even show you this until I'm done, but this is what I'm going to try. It is a soft touch. Most people paint these just with regular old matte single stage gray, but I am going to do base coat clear again, and I want to go back to that original feel that Chrysler was going for, but I'm going to try a modern product now. This stuff is not for the automotive industry. This stuff is actually for firearms, and it is a soft touch clear coat, and it's supposedly, in all the specs and everything, it is incredibly durable. And so we're going to try that on the Viper dash and see how it holds up. So this is going to be kind of a long-term experiment. Hopefully it doesn't go bad, because this is a lot of work to strip this stuff, and I don't want to do it again. So I'm hoping that this works well. I'll shoot a test panel and stuff and see how it looks first, but hopefully that stuff will hold its color a little bit better. But anyway, that's what's going on with the old Viper project. And there's some more really cool stuff coming on that one. I just picked up a Max ECU race series for that car. So we're going to go to a standalone on it and completely ditch the factory engine harness and wire in the Max ECU. And I need to get head gaskets coming. I do have a set of Viper ported heads over here. No, these are not Viper pistons. These are my heads, and these are, I bought them from a gentleman that blew up the bottom end of his engine, and these heads came from, they were ported by hand by a guy named Greg Good, who is pretty famous in the Viper community. They already have the dual valve springs and everything. We just sent them off to, he sent them off to a machine shop before I bought them from him. Had them all checked out, fresh springs put in. This car is going to get boosted. So head studs, these heads, and we're going to do some turbos and run it all off of a Max ECU. And the cool thing about that is the Max ECU is the one controller, if anyone's into aftermarket standalone ECUs, it's the one controller that will also control an 8 HP transmission. So can you say poor man's sequential? Might be something that happens to this one. Anyway, thanks for checking in and listening to me ramble on this update. That's why I haven't really been filming all of this, because it's kind of a little tedious, and there's tons of auto body stuff on YouTube that you can follow. But if you want me to touch any more on any of this, or you have any questions on how that I've done any of this, please shoot me a comment down below. I'd be happy to chat with you and help you through this stuff. I'm by no means an expert on anything, but I learned the hard way, the school of hard knocks, and you just fake it till you make it. But I'd be happy to share my experience so you don't screw up the same way I did. But anyway, reason that I haven't been shooting is kind of blew out my back. So first I tore my elbow. That is still in recovery. Not really recovering. It still hurts like crazy, but I'm still using it. And I was working in the shop. I turned wrong, and next thing I know, I was laying on the ground and thought I put my back out really bad. I've always had, little back issues over the years of being mechanic, but ended up going to the chiropractor. He checked. He couldn't find anything, and that guy is usually really good. He couldn't find anything amiss. He's like, I don't know what's wrong with you, why you're in so much pain. So the wife took me home, and by that night, I could not walk. My legs did not work. To get out of bed, I literally just had to fall out of bed and then drag myself with my hands to the bathroom, and my legs did not function. The pain was so intense that my brain just would not control my legs, which was kind of scary. I've been down in my back before, but this was next level pain. I was out for at least a week, probably 3 days in bed, just because I couldn't walk. And then the next week, I started coming out in the shop and tinkering with some of the farm projects that I have here that I needed to get done, and I was really careful and wore a back brace and limited my time on my feet, and it was really painful. And if I sat or stood for too long, it was just horrible. And I was sweating bullets because everything I do is with this tool right here. So I was definitely sweating bullets, because if this tool doesn't function, my way of life changes quickly. So doctors, they gave me muscle relaxers and that kind of stuff. I refuse painkillers. I do not take that stuff. It's no good for anyone. And so I refused that stuff and just started moving. And I forced myself to start working. As soon as I could sit in the truck long enough to make it to the farm, I was going back to the farm. And before that, I was working here on a truck for the farm that I'm working on. And the biggest thing I think that got me back on my feet so quickly is just moving, making myself do it. So I'm thrilled that I feel like I'm pretty close to, I'd say I'm probably 90%. I don't hurt in my back bad, but if I'm using it for a lot of time, or like this week, I did a lot of tractor work, and being on a rough tractor for a day, everything hurts from my back down. So all the muscles don't know what to do. They're trying to hold things in place, and it gets everything, sciatica and all that stuff, tenses up and goes nuts. But I am very grateful that I'm not still down, and I'm walking, and I'm able to continue my way of life. I'm going to be careful. I did get an MRI. They tell me, the specialists tell me I need 2 prosthetic discs put in, and I have 2 more that are extremely protruding. So I have 4 discs that are blown out, and they don't know how I'm functioning, but I am, and I'm not feeling that. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. They say I'm not in any danger to cause injury to my spinal cord or anything like that. And they said, so if I want to postpone surgery, I can do that. And I don't want anyone cutting on my back if I can deal without it. So that's the long ramble for today. I just wanted to post something quickly to get you guys on board of why I haven't been posting, because I said I was going to start again. And to tell you the truth, it was all that I could do just to continue my daily functions and keep going with my normal work duties. So my extracurricular activities, including the videos, took a hit. So I apologize for that. And I'm going to try to get going again on this stuff. But the old van, yes, it's still here. This is where we left off last time. I have not touched it. And that's not like me. I don't like to let projects linger. And so we're going to get back on this, but this is kind of a tedious long-term project, and I've been leaving you guys hanging. So I'm going to do a quick in-between project to kind of get the ball rolling again. And plus, I don't want to be lifting and axle housing and stuff in and out of this right now with my condition. So I'm going to do something that's a little bit lighter weight and still super cool to watch. So check back pretty soon. I'm going to work on that probably tonight and into this weekend. So if you would like to check in on that, it's going to be on the old International pickup that I did the Will It Start on. So yeah, that van is looking killer. Look at that thing. Just freaking wild. So anyway, I'm going to be working on that International. I appreciate you guys sticking with me. I would really appreciate it if you'd leave a comment down below. I'm really trying to get myself motivated to keep this channel going with all the other stuff that's going on. And that stuff helps. And the algorithm does not lie. And it tells me that there's a lot of people watching, but not very many people subscribing. So if you could, that helps me out. Just helps me push forward, and I really appreciate that. And I look forward to any comments you guys have on this project, the Viper, what you want to see on some of the van build or any of the others. And yeah, let's move forward together, not let life get in the way. Thanks again. You guys have a great day, and take care.